What do you think makes them great? What's the best thing they do?
I think they do it with the pass that a lot of people don't really give them credit for. I think their dribble penetration, and once they see the defense start to rotate, they do it with the pass. To be honest, throughout the course of the 48-minute game, they really only have 2 ISO guys, and that's Jayson Tatum and that's Jaylen Brown. Obviously, Peyton Pritchard has the ability to play low ISO ball as well, but they just have 2 ISO guys. The rest of those guys, they move off the pass. They move off the defense shifting. You've loaded up on those 2 great guards or, great wings and Jayson and Jaylen. And then now that's when their personnel really kicks in. That's when Derek White is playing on a closeout. That's when Drew Holiday is playing on a closeout. That's when Peyton Pritchard is playing on a closeout. Al Horford plays on a closeout, and I think they don't get enough credit for their ball movement when they're driving the baseline or driving the 45, the slot, and getting the defense rotating, and that is their superpowers is once that ball get to popping and they got 5 guys around that perimeter that can all shoot the 3. They all shoot in high 30s, some of them in the 40s, obviously. But I don't think they get enough credit with how they play with the pass and the body movement that they have.
Yeah, I think that I would describe what you're saying as the Boston Celtics are at their best when they're doing that.
Yeah.
They're at their best when they're getting you in rotation. And they create that in a number of ways. You bring up the ISO stuff. And when they are 5 out, they're spaced. They almost always have 5 shooters on the floor. Now, against the Pacers, Cornette was out there some because Porzingis was not playing. Tillman was out there some. Brissett was out there some. So they did play some lineups where they had 4 shooters.
Yeah.
Only 4.
Only 4 shooters.
But for the most part, in their 8-man rotation, when they're healthy, they got 5 shooters. And so you bring up the 45, and I think that's, a great example of just how they get you in rotation. So this is, let's just say it's Jaylen Brown getting to his right hand, right? Yep. Jaylen Brown getting to his right hand.
Yep.
And this low guy has to come over, right? So now you've created a 2-on-1 over here. As this guy comes over, let's say he kicks to the corner.
Yep.
Now, you're at that point, Boston has won the possession.
Yep.
Boston has won the possession because you are now in rotation, right?
Yep.
X guy goes, somebody's flying at the slot guy, and it's just beating you with the pass. And they're all capable of playing out of closeouts, as you mentioned. So I think the spacing is, to me, what starts everything for them offensively.
Yeah.
And the way they're able to get 2 on the ball. The play that I love, and this is what I want to sort of talk about with you today, is you call it horns 2, or you call it V2?
Horns 2. Yeah, V2.
You call it horns 2. We talked about horns 2 chest earlier, but in one of the other episodes, I want to talk about their horns 2 and how sort of they run it. And we'll just put Al Horford over there and Drew over here. And we'll just say Porzingis is not in the lineup for this. So they run it a bunch of different ways. This is, to me, the best thing they do. This is Jayson Tatum right here.
Correct.
Let's just say he's in that sort of right elbow area. Using Jayson Tatum as a screener because Derek White's defender is oftentimes one of the weaker guys.
Yep.
This could also be Drew up here. So they use whoever the weakest guy along with JB and JT.
Yep.
And Jayson Tatum as a screener creates so much. So let's say they run their horns 2 flare. Derek White makes the pass. Jayson Tatum sets the flare.
Yep.
There's so many things they get out of this. So obviously Derek White for 3 if they don't switch. Derek White curling. JB hits him. Now all of a sudden you've got shooters. You've got Derek White getting a layup. The other reason I really like this is because they do, I think, a better job than anyone on these rip screens when there is a switch. JT setting this rip screen on Derek White. If they know they're switching, the angle they set this and slip.
Yep.
They get that so much. And again, so everything is built off of spacing.
Yep.
But the way they're able to manipulate matchups, do you think whether it is Dallas, whether it is Minnesota, do you think, number one, do you think they have the right personnel? Number two, specifically with this Hornets-2 flare, we'll talk about the other actions out of Hornets-2 in a second, but with this Hornets-2 flare, is switching the right call against the Celtics, or is there a better way to do it?
I think showing any great team a steady diet of the same thing throughout the course of 48 minutes is going to be a death to you. You have to switch it up. You have to change pitches. You can't just show, great players and great teams a steady diet of the same, anything. They will get too comfortable. They will understand it. They will start seeing it, and then they'll expose it. So I think there are times where you can switch that action, but there's times where you have to be extremely physical and body up and try to force the catch out. You can't let the opposite guy, if it's Jaylen Brown or if it's Al Horford or if it's Drew Holiday, catch the ball right at the elbow. You have to push them off the elbow maybe just a little bit, and a lot of times, a lot of the conversations need to be had before you even get out on the floor. You need to be talking about, okay, listen, this is nut crunching time. These are the sets that they're going to go to because they know they're going to get a good shot out of it. So we got to be ready for it, But, like you said, Joe do a great job of putting those guys in position and understanding who's on the other team when they're guarding them. So you look at, with this matchup with Dallas, obviously you got Kyrie, you got Luka, you got PJ Washington, Derrick Jones, and Gafford or Lively starting at that 5. That position, I'm guessing that Kyrie would be on Derrick White. You'll have Derrick Jones and PJ. They'll decide who will be on Jaylen Brown and Tatum. You'll have Luka on Drew Holiday. They're trying to take away his post-ups because that's where Drew is really good. We've seen how many times he big-shouldered Obi Toppin, in late games. So you try to put Siakam big shoulder
early in that series.
and ones. He big shouldered those guys. So you want to try to keep a bigger body on Drew. And then you'll have Lively or Gafford on Al Horford or Porzingis if he's available. So they'll probably have whoever Kyrie is guarding initiate that offense that we just drew up and see if they can get the switch. See if they don't switch, can Tatum get a nice clean screen where Derrick White or Drew Holiday gets a layup off that flare, gets a 3 off the flare, cut to the basket, get a layup. This is the worst thing that can happen, that 2 guys go with 1. Where Tatum sets the rip screen, Kyrie is afraid to take the body off Derrick White, and he curls around, and PJ or Derrick Jones goes with them, and now Jayson Tatum steps back for a 3 by himself. That is the worst thing that can happen. So you have to go in with a definite game plan on, this is what we're going to start with. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll be ready to make the adjustment.
There's a couple things I want to run back out of this, but for the most part, let's just have 2 offensive players here.
Yep.
And let's just say this is Jaylen, and let's say you do a good job switching, and this ends up being Jayson Tatum. And whoever this guy initiating the offense, it could be Drew, it could be Derrick, has now cut through to the basket.
Correct.
It's interesting because a lot of teams, when you get to this point and you have this 45, as you said, ISO or slot ISO, a lot of teams, after this guy is cut through, will send him weak side to the dunker spot. Mm-hmm. Boston, a lot of times, they don't do it always, but a lot of times, Derrick, could be Al Horford, a lot of times it's Drew as well. Mm-hmm. They actually sit the dunker spot in the strong side. Mm-hmm. And if Jayson Tatum is able to get to his strong hand, this guy doesn't ever help. It's actually bizarre. And Tatum can just drive and score. And the other thing it creates, though, is you're essentially having these 2 weak side defenders then make a decision. How much do I want to help? Right? You're actually, in some ways, you're taking this guy off the floor.
Yeah.
If you put him weak side, this. If you put, let's say it's Derrick White weak side, this guy now is the low man.
Yep.
This guy is the X-man. He can play too.
Yep, he can play too. So by Boston putting that guy on a strong block, it's almost essentially like defender. You feel like don't help strong side shooter.
Right.
So you kind of like, do I go help? Do I help up? It's the same kind of trigger that Denver gives you when Joker drives right and you got Aaron Gordon right there. It's like, do I help up or do I stay back? Do I play the cat and mouse game? If I help up, lob to Aaron Gordon, So it's very challenging. We just seen these conference finals. We've seen many times where Jaylen Brown or Tatum would drive that slot and either X2 or 3 who's down there guarding Drew or Derek White would help up. Those guys get just an easy layup. Or if they don't, you get a walk-in layup for either one of those guys. So that's pretty smart thinking on Joe and his staff.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Mind the Game podcast. If you like it, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you.